Yes, it's showing live on the top of my screen.
Okay,
Let's see.
Everybody's live.
everyone's live. All right. Well, my name is Jim Cummings, Chairman of the TIRZ Board of City of San Angelo, and I'm going to call to order our meeting. This is Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020. It's been certified that we have a quorum, so the meeting is called to order. At this time in our agenda, it's our public comment time, and I will.
Everybody's live.
Everyone's live. For those who have joined us via Zoom, if you want to make a public comment on any item that's not on the agenda, this is your opportunity to make that comment. Otherwise, on the agenda, as each item is covered, I will call for public comment. Do we have any public comment at this time? Hearing none, we'll move to item number 3 on our agenda, and that's consideration of approving the minutes for our January 28th, 2020 board meeting. All of you should have a copy of those minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Okay, Deidre, do we have a second?
Tony's raising.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the January 28th board minutes. Any comments? Hearing none, the minutes of our January 28th meeting stand approved. Going into item 4 will be our financial report.
Okay, this is John James. Hey, Ray, I tried to share my screen and it said that's been disabled.
Okay, try now.
Okay, there we go. Okay, are you guys seeing that now?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Of sorts.
all right, this is our normal financial report you received earlier today. I think the paper form of that, and I'll just quickly go through this. The beginning zone balance at the beginning of the fiscal year was about 1.7 million. This is in the north. Our anticipated revenue this year is about 680,000. The private incentives that are already committed is about 280,000. The committed to the Chadburn Street project is about 556,000. We do have a little bit left in street maintenance, 2,900, or streetscape maintenance. That's for things like repairing electrical, for watering, the watering system for the streetscape on those street improvements. And then we have a public improvements set aside that was set aside a couple of years ago, just basically waiting for a project to come along, sidewalks, street lights, something like that, that money can be used for. And then we have the operating funds, of about 15,000. And so in the north, that leaves about just under 1.5 million available for distribution.
Okay.
And then go to the south zone. The beginning balance is 400,000. Anticipated revenue is close to another 400,000. Subtracting out the private incentives that have already been committed, and 550,000, as well as the committed Chadburn project, 229,000, and also a little bit of streetscape maintenance there, about 2,400, and then some operating expenses that have been set aside. That leaves just under $2,000 available for assignment. And so, as Shannon will get to later, that right there is the reason that we're only looking at north projects right now. We should have additional funding in October. And so sometime shortly after October, we'll do another cycle of south projects. But for now, since there's little money left in the south, we're only looking at the north having funding for available projects.
John, I'll say what I did in January. I appreciate this. I call it the new format because I can understand this. and I'm probably the one that struggles the most with that, but this is a good format and I do understand it. So
Good,
Uh,
good. Any
very good.
questions?
Yeah, I have a question. You mentioned street lights. I keep hearing that talked about here and there occasionally, but where are we on street lights?
Well, at this point, we have not looked at any streetlight projects. That's an eligible item to be funded. But if any of the board members have specific areas that are within the TIRZ boundary that you think streetlight project might be needed, we can definitely look at that. But nothing like that's on our radar right now. I will mention we do have a couple of sidewalk projects that you'll be seeing, perhaps separate from our private incentives program, but the transit authority is looking at adding some bus shelters around the North Tier zone, as well as elsewhere throughout the city. But we've been in talks with them about bringing to the board a funding item to help build some sidewalks to connect to those bus shelters if they put those in. So again, we're kind of early in the planning stages for that. And obviously we have not committed any TIRZ funds for that, but at some point in the next few months, we will be bringing a project to you all for consideration for some of that set aside, some of that north set aside funding.
Okay. All right. I didn't hear any other comments or questions, so I need a motion to approve this financial report, please.
A motion to approve it.
Second.
Okay. Did y'all pick up that motion in a second for the financial report? All right. Any comments on the financial
I'm
report?
sorry. No, I did not catch the voices. I'm sorry. Can you show me a raise of
Okay.
hand who made the motion?
I motioned it.
Jason?
Jason?
Greg, second.
Greg,
Okay.
second.
Perfect. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. I'm not hearing any comments. All in favor, say aye. Or raise your
Aye.
hand. Any opposed? All right, financial report is approved. We'll go to item number 5. And this is considering approving extension letter for the 202 South Chadburn, which is the One East Tuig partnership. And Shannon, is she going to comment on that?
Yes, sir. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let me start sharing my screen here. Okay, so as y'all know, when an agreement is executed, we have 2 years for the applicant to complete their project. We try to keep a pretty close eye on the projects and if they're nearing completion. And in this particular case, the applicant reached out to me personally because he realized that he was coming close to the end of his contract date. So he reached out to me back in April, realizing that his contract would essentially expire on April 18th of 20. He was about 75% done with his project at that time, and he requested an extension until June 30th of 20. And again, this is for 202 South Chadburn, just to go over the details of the original contract. So it was executed again on April 18th of 18 and was set to expire on April 18th of 20. In this particular case, the incentives were $12,800 for a new fire sprinkler system and $45,000 in facade improvements. The delay essentially was because the fire sprinkler had been installed, but with all the COVID and all the events currently happening, that the inspection was delayed on that particular fire sprinkler system. They also requested a slight change for the paint color of the building, and that was approved. But again, just the delay in getting that approval kind of pushed back the anticipated completion date. I did speak with the applicant actually this morning, and he said they're about 95% done. All they have to do now is just do some paint touch up on the top of the building. So with that said, we are asking for an extension on this particular agreement until June 30th of 20.
Okay, Shannon, let me ask you quickly, is there a name of the business on that building? Remind me what's there at that property?
It is a law office.
Law office, okay,
Yes, sir.
that's good. Okay, we need to have a motion in a second, please, for extending this for this gentleman. Do I have a
Shannon,
motion?
can you, I'm sorry, can Shannon unshare her screen so we can, okay, thank you.
Okay. Here's Shannon. All right, do we have a motion to extend this?
I motion to extend it to June.
Okay, we have a motion from Jason. Need a second?
Second it, Dedra.
Hey, Dudra seconds. Okay, is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this extension is approved. All right, Shannon, I guess you're still up.
Yes, sir. Okay.
This will be an update discussion on projects in progress.
Okay, so as y'all recall, our last meeting was back in February, and of course, we've had several projects that have completed their work that we'd like to give you all an update on. So the first project is at 909 West Beauregard. That is now Concho Self-Storage. This was a picture of the before of the area, and sadly, I couldn't find a more recent updated picture where basically it was a vacant lot. So here is the before picture, and here's what it looks like now.
Mhm.
Good.
So the other projects that we currently have under construction or in progress in the south include 19 West Beauregard, which is Box Hangar 210, which is an engineering firm. We have 40 West Tewig, which is the Spur building, 59 North Chadbourne, which is Michelle Chapa, 109 North Chadbourne, which is Concho Venue, and 123 North Chadbourne, which you guys have probably seen under construction currently with the addition to the back of the building. That is going to be the Buffalo Soldier Art Gallery. We also have projects in progress at 136 East Concho, which is the San Angelo Autism Center, 202 South Chadbourne, which is the One East Tewig Partnership. Again, the project that you all just approved the extension for until June 30th. 226 South A, which is Reina's Tacos, and 305 West Tewig, Dean and Dean Attorneys. They are actually complete with their project, and I had spoken with Mary Dean, one of the applicants, and asked her to send me some pictures a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately, a lot of the progress of the work that they had completed got ruined by our most recent hailstorm a few weeks ago. So they're going to have to come back in and get all of that essentially replaced. And then she's going to send me some updated pictures once that's complete, and I can give you all an update then. And our last project in the south is 322 North Chadbourne, which is Burlap and Paisley.
Okay. Shannon, let me ask you this question for my own benefit. Do we do periodic inspections on these projects? In other words, do we make progress payments on them, and we have an inspector go in and look and see that they're being completed as requested?
Yes. So if the project is in the south and it falls in the DHRC zone, the only way that we can release the final payment is if we get somebody from permits or planning to actually go over there and sign off and ensure that it does stay in compliance or is in compliance with what was submitted as far as those historic standards. We don't necessarily have to do that in the north zone because there's no historic designation. But of course, once the projects are complete, they're required to send certain documentation to prove that they are in fact complete and in alignment with their original budget and after renderings and things like that. So they do have to submit some type of documentation, either in the form of after pictures, paid receipts, and things of that nature.
Okay. So with all of these projects, everything, as far as you know, is moving along as needed?
Yes, sir. And like I said, periodically we'll sit down and review kind of where the projects are standing, and again determine if they do need an extension or just to check progress and see how the projects are coming along.
All right. Okay, I'll ask the board, do we have any questions regarding these updates on these projects in progress?
And I do still have a few to report in the north as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
No, you're
ahead.
fine. Okay, we'll start with the north projects. This one is at 1715 North Chadbourne. It's called Good Old Used Furniture, and here is the before picture and the after shots.
Hmm. Okay.
Next project is at 1816 North Chadbourn. This is the gentleman. Here is the before. And here is the after.
Okay.
And the other portion of this building at 1822 North Chadbourn, which is Senior Chang's. And I believe the only thing they are lacking for completion of the outside portion of this project is their signage. And we're hoping to get that done within the next several days to a week.
Great.
Next project is at 2020 North Bryant. It's the Icon Cinema, and my apologies for the poor quality of the picture on this particular one. And here's the after.
Mhm.
And then here are the remaining projects in the north that are in progress. So we have 124 West 24th Street, which is Twofold Journey Properties, 2821 and 2829 North Chadbourn, which is Harvey Andrews, and then 2934 North Chadbourn, which is the Dollar General. And those are all of the projects that I have in progress, and I'll be happy to answer any questions in regards to those.
Okay, yeah, let me ask you about that 124 West 20, that's West 24, it's two Journey
sir.
property. Okay, no, I don't have a question on that.
Did you say you don't have a question?
Yeah, I do not have a question. on
Okay.
that. Yeah, well, I do have a question. I had in my notes that 124 was West 4th Street, not West 24th, but it's West 24th.
You are correct. That should be West 4th Street. My apologies.
Okay, then I do have a question.
Okay.
I do too.
Yeah, what we approved in January, has that work been done, what we approved? Because we have another application on it today.
Right. I believe the majority of it has, and I do know that the applicant will be on the call today. So as part of the presentation of her next application, if y'all would like to ask her exactly what the progress is of the work that was approved back in January, I'm sure she'd be happy to answer that. I know she's done some painting for sure, but as far as the exact progress, it'd probably be best to ask her.
Okay, all right. I think John Mark had a question.
Well, I was just kind of remembering on the Harvey Andrews, we had given another extension on that, correct?
Yes, sir.
When is that? When was that extension to?
I believe it's July 31st.
Okay, all right.
So we still have a little bit of time, but again, as that nears, I can certainly follow up with him and see if we're going to need another extension or if he plans to finish by that deadline.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just remembered that one being extended as
Just in a
well.
minute, July 18th.
July
July
18th.
18th.
Yeah. Okay.
Jim, I have a question.
Yes, sir. Stephen.
Shannon, I guess it's you. I've looked through the policies and maybe I missed it, but is there a preclusion from someone applying? Because she's also applied for the 128 West 4th. Before this is completed, to submit another application for either another project, is there a preclusion of that?
There is not. We'd actually had that question in the past, whether a current project was required to be completed before another application was submitted. And there is nothing in the policy that states that they cannot apply for another round of incentives if their previous project is not complete.
And she's going to be available to answer some questions on some other things.
Yes, sir.
I've got some questions on that. Is that building on the south building line? Is it on the property line?
That would be a question for her. I believe her project is going to be the first that we're going to present after this. So if you want to wait until she gets on the call and ask her directly, I'm sure she'd be happy to answer that.
All right.
Okay. Okay, do we have any other questions on projects in progress? All right, Shannon, we'll go to the,
Shannon, I'm thinking in TIRZ Street, the dividing line.
It is. So this one barely falls into the north zone with it being on 4th Street.
yeah, it's on the north side of 4th Street. Okay, any other questions? All right, hearing none, we'll go to item number 7. And Shannon, I guess you're still up.
Okay, so I will begin discussing the most recent applications that were submitted for the North Zone. We had 6 total applications. And the way I would like to do this is go through each project separately. And if y'all would like to discuss, or if you'd like to wait until the end, I'll present each project basically in a list and show the total amount that was requested and the total amount that was recommended. But again, I'll go through each project individually. And if y'all would like to discuss or ask questions. Again, I believe each applicant is going to be let into the Zoom call in regards to their particular application, so they will be available for questions as well.
Okay, but Shannon, what you're saying is we won't vote on them until you've gone through each one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
And Shannon, if you can let me know the name of the applicant as you go through by address, please.
Okay, this is going to be Lori Laura. And we may wait until she comes into the room so she can hear the entire presentation.
Okay, she's in.
Ma'am?
Shannon, I was letting you know that Lori is in.
Okay, good deal. Okay, so again, this is going to be for 124 West 4th Street. It's for Twofold Journey Properties LLC. They're requesting funding in the amount of $50,000. They will match 45% for $41,000 and a total project cost of $91,000. And the request for funding would be for the installation of 2 new entry and exit stairwells for egress purposes. I'll go through some current photos of the stairwell. And then here are the after renderings. And those are the only photos I have for this project. So I know, Stephen, you mentioned that you may have some questions for Lori. Again, I'm available for questions, or if y'all would like to ask the applicant directly, she's on the call.
Okay, Stephen.
Stephen, did you have any questions?
I do. What are the intended, this building looks like it's going to be a multiple use facility, upstairs and downstairs. Shannon, do you know what the intended use of the building is?
Lori, can you answer that?
Yes, we got approved for mixed use on this facility. The downstairs is currently tenant lease for a paper distribution company. And then the upstairs will be turned into 2 residential loft apartments that we got conditional approval to use for.
So they're gonna do a paper distribution company on the bottom and then 2 apartments on top are gonna be lofts.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Shannon, can you go back to the previous pictures of the stairs, please? Oh, yeah. Okay.
I have a question, Ms. Laura. Do you know, or does anybody on the city staff know if that south building line is on the city property line? It appears to me, based on my knowledge of that area, and it could be incorrect, that building is sitting on the property line. and the stairwell is therefore on city right of way. I may be wrong, but if it is on city right of way, there's got to be some adjustments or compensation made for it.
I can answer that. That is actually Lee Pfluger's property. We are actually getting a current survey on it because he has already agreed to permission for me to use that property. That is not city property at all. It's been surveyed and it's also being further surveyed for my permission to be used. So that is currently in the situation. That is not city property at all. In fact, half that street belongs to Mr. Pfluger.
So you have a survey of that property and it shows the stairwell is within the survey boundary.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. I noticed that some of the buildings on 4th Street, which is a disaster, in my opinion, are on the property line. And that's what made me raise this question with you, Ms. Laura.
My particular building, pretty much both of the buildings are part of the old railroad. Now the city from further up towards Lone Star Moving and Hartman, now that's when you get into full city street. But half of this street south of this building is actually used to be state or railroad, and now Mr. Pfluger now currently owns that.
What are you going to do for parking?
Okay, like I said, Mr. Pfluger and I are in the process of getting some further surveying to allow me to lease further land in front of the building for parking. And I also got consent by Salvation Army to use portions of their area for parking. That's all working out in the details. But as far as that goes, Mr. Pfluger has agreed to allow me to park on the south side of the building. And we're, like I said, we're making current contentions for further parking.
Okay. Okay, do we have any other questions for Lori?
Lori, can you give us an update on where that first round of incentives, the progress of that work, kind of where we stand right now?
Yes, ma'am. Because of the pandemic, we all are kind of, that's just seems to be part of the problem of progress right now for all of us. But right now the building has been 100% painted. I'm waiting for my doors to come in. And the one holdback that's prevented us from being complete is the abatement. But because of COVID, the abatement company has been promised already out so many times for disinfecting other facilities and doing other processes such as hospitals and schools that they keep having to push the schedule back. But so far, I'm on a tentative schedule with the abatement company of July 6th. So we're hoping that that falls forward. That way we can go ahead and proceed to completing this project.
Okay, any further questions? All right, thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Okay, Shannon.
Okay. Okay, next project is at 128 West 4th Street. This is also for Twofold Journey Properties. They're requesting funding in the amount of $74,250 with a match of $42,000 and a total project cost of $116,250. In this particular case, the summary of work includes the installation of a new fire sprinkler and fire alarm system, landscaping, outside storage screening, and upgrades to the facade with new doors, windows, and lighting. On the top here are the current photos of the windows. And of course, on the bottom are renderings of the proposed new windows. As you can see on the first picture on the top left, that is what the current building looks like with the trees. And of course, they anticipate removing those trees and installing a fence similar to the one in the upper right-hand corner. And then here are some examples of the lighting and new doors that they would like to install. And this project is also with Lori. So if y'all have any questions for myself or her, we'd be happy to answer those.
I have some questions. I think the use, intended use is defined, although there are several venues in this community that will cater to that same clientele. But this is a disaster waiting to happen. And anything we can do here, it should be done. I worry about parking. I worry about 4th Street. 4th Street is an abomination, in my opinion. It needs to be corrected by the city, and even with the property owners' participation who are adjacent to it on maybe an assessment paving program of some type. But certainly with our funds, and that street needs to be made better than it is now. It's third world, in my opinion. And you're proposing to spend a bunch of money on this street and still have the dog leg that you've got in it, and with no landscaping, no aesthetics whatsoever, and build a nice facility that will cater to weddings and parties. I don't think so. So I'm for the project, but I want something done, if we can do it, on 4th Street, to clean it up, straighten it up, and make it a through street. I don't know if Angelo movers, the apartment movers, have a permit to park the way they do. When they park their trucks 6 in a row back to their docks, you can barely get through. I was down there Sunday with no traffic, and I had to do this. Went down there again yesterday and to look at it, and their trucks are backed up. They have a parking lot where the big trucks stay. Can't we do something about that, or make it where they don't use those parking spaces adjacent to their building unless they're loading or unloading? I just think you got a mess potential here if you're going to spend money to make this place a venue for the public, and you got a street that looks like Ned in the 1st grade.
Well, Lori is trying to do her part.
Yeah, Laura's trying to do her, and I'm for it. I'm for it. I think it could, but Jim, I will ask any of us who will want to lease that facility and try to go down there on 4th Street when you don't have any parking. That's a question I have for her. You don't have any aesthetics, and you have a hard time getting around the apartment moving trucks, as well as come through a feed plant, come from up north, from the west side.
Again, the parking, I'm sorry.
We've got to do something with the street. And I may be falling on deaf ears. I mean, it's a designated target area for community development. I can't understand why we don't use community development funds, our funds, and perhaps the city can do something about the street, make that more accessible, and have a better ingress and egress to the facility, to the buildings on that street.
I don't mean to interrupt. I hope I can speak now. If not, please, somebody
Go
stop.
right ahead. No, go ahead,
Okay.
Lori.
I understand your concerns. That street is a nightmare. But when you have 2 owners of that street, it's really going to be one being the city and one being a private owner. That's going to be on a separate matter. But I can promise you, and I can assure you that if you look at the building that I just had painted on 124th, that the aesthetics are going to vastly improve. As far as parking goes, I guarantee you I've got adequate parking for what I intend to do and outlines. That's going to be a further project. I've got to get these other things into place in order to go to the parking, address the parking. As far as aesthetics, I'm going to really bring an uplift to this, and it's going to really be that diamond in the rough, and it's going to shine. I can almost guarantee you that. And it's hard for me to allow y'all to see my vision. Shannon's seen some of it, and then I've got a lot of support from Mr. Palmer and everybody down that street about bringing this place up and making it look nice. And I guarantee that I understand your objections. I totally understand that I'm the one that drives over that pothole every single day. I'm the one that looks at the parking down the way and think that there's got to be some kind of middle met on that, but I'm just one small person that can't take over that part of it. But as far as I can guarantee you, I will even raise property value on the attention that I'm fixed to give this tin metal building that used to be part of the Gulf Colorado and railroad station, freight station. And I'm going to give it the facelift it deserves, and I can guarantee that it's going to be aesthetically pleasing, and it's going to deter a lot of that transit activity in that area.
Laurie, this is Jim Cummings. Let me just ask you, and I was down 4th Street this morning looking at your buildings. Are you confident you can do what you feel like you can do with this amount? I mean, it just looks to me like there's a lot of money needs to be spent on this building, but you think you can accomplish this project with 116,000?
In the interim, yes, sir, I do.
Okay. All right. Well, I applaud you. I think it'll be great when you get it completed. So, well done. All right. Do we have any other questions for Laurie?
Hi, this is Tony, right here.
Hey, Tony.
Is this another one of the buildings that it's several addresses within one structure? We looked at that a little bit in the past, you know, about funding for multiple addresses within one structure.
These are actually two completely different buildings.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, everything is 124. Yeah,
Well,
the one with 124
128.
and 128 was just next door to it, right? Right, but it's still right next door to each other. So still putting, will it become the same venue as one, or is it going to be two separate entities? Two? Okay.
I
know
think
we
this particular one, oh, excuse me.
No, you're okay.
This is going to be more of a wedding event venue, Lori, just more of an event venue, as opposed to the other building, which you said is going to be the paper manufacturing and then the residential lofts upstairs.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. They're two separate. It's all part of the mixed use, but that's going to be two separate affairs, two separate purposes.
Okay, any other questions for Laurie? All right, thank you, Laurie.
Thank you.
Okay, Shannon.
Okay, Ray, the next applicant is going to be Priscilla Hernandez with Shine Bright. We'll wait until she gets in the room.
Okay, she is on.
Perfect. Okay, so this project is going to be located at 2302 North Bryant. This is going to be Shine Bright Lube, their north location. So they are requesting funding in the amount of $75,000 with a 90% match of $656,473 for a total project cost of $731,473. So the summary of work to be performed in this particular case includes upgrades to the facade with new paint, windows and doors, as well as garage doors, asbestos inspection, paving, landscaping, and then some work on the interior to help with that matching portion, to include new plumbing, electrical, lighting, then upgrades to the facade. Upgrades to the bathrooms, as well as the ceiling, flooring, tile, and interior, other interior renovations. So here is the current building.
So KFC building on North Bryant. You got somebody looking at doing something with it.
Some better pictures of the parking lot and the sign, or non-existent sign. And just a few pictures of the current interior. And then here are some of the after renderings as far as the facade work, the signage, and then a couple of the interior improvements as far as the bathroom and ductwork. In this particular case, we actually did ask them to submit us some better renderings of their landscaping. So this probably wasn't included with the original packets that were sent out to you all. But here are some of the photos of the landscaping renderings.
Okay.
Give a couple more. Okay, this will be the last photo here. So again, Priscilla Hernandez with Shine Bright is on the call. If you have any questions for her or myself.
Okay, do we have any questions for this application? This will be a great project. It'll be, you're talking about a substantial improvement. It'll really be good.
We're excited.
Well, we appreciate your involvement and you're willing to make this type of investment.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll just move on, but thank you so much for this application. We appreciate your willingness to make this type of investment in our community. Thank you.
We appreciate y'all very much.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, Shannon.
Okay, next application is for Big O Auto, and we should have Christine Lucky and Oliver Brown on the line. So we will wait until they come into the room.
That's this building. It needs, he does good business, you know. So I'd like to see him fix up this building.
Okay, Shannon, Christina's on.
Okay. So again, this is for Big O Auto, which is located at 2311 North Chadburn. They're requesting funding in the amount of $40,634.16. Their match will be $14,024.71 for a total project cost of $54,658.87. So their project summary of work includes upgrades to the facade, as well as new sign installation, landscaping, paving, and outside storage screening. So we'll go through some current photos.
Okay, if you want to come back.
Okay, so it looks like these are the current photos, and then we have the after rendering. And again, in this particular case, this photo was submitted later to include a little bit more landscaping as well as a sidewalk. So this might not be the exact rendering that y'all received originally in your packet. And again, Christine with Big O Auto is on the phone or on the line, as well as myself, to answer any questions.
I have a question. Is this project, is it already part of the Big O Auto property or is it adjacent to it?
Christine, can you answer that question? I may have lost her.
Sidewalks down the street. Here in 2016, not Chapter now. And they're on to 2300.
Shannon, the only question I had was, I'm amazed they can do what they want to do with just $50,000, and this looks to me like this needs to be a lot of money spent on that property.
Paving
Yeah.
alone.
I was just curious because I know the Big O property, but I don't remember anything that looked like that picture, the picture of the actual current storefront that you just showed on that property. And maybe I missed it, but maybe I wasn't sure if it's on there. this is moving to a new property?
Yeah, they're moving 3 blocks.
Moving 3 blocks
Okay.
down. They're
Okay.
2610 North Shepherd, they're moving to 2311. North
Okay,
Shepherd.
all right, well, that answers my question.
Yeah.
And Christina's available now. I believe she's on the line if you had any questions for her.
I'm sorry about that.
I already had my question answered. So.
I'm like saying, I want to see something more in landscaping other than a pot. How do you respond to that? Something zero escape, something out front along the sidewalk, but you got nothing but asphalt and sidewalk and 4 pots out there, and I'd like to break it up if possible.
And Stephen, I know that is a discussion that the staff had as well, and we did make that recommendation to Big O Auto. And Christine, you might elaborate on this, but from my understanding, there's not sufficient room in order to do more elaborate landscaping, but they did agree to include a sidewalk, and staff was okay with that.
We can give you a little more money for some landscaping if that'll help, because you're not maxed out.
Yeah, I can definitely bring that up to my boss. I mean, I'm pretty sure we can find places to put it. It's just, I guess we're just trying to figure out what would be the best way to lay everything out once we get established. But let's see.
Well, Miss Lucky, I definitely like this project. I work on that side of town, so anything to brighten up that side of town, I'm for it.
Yeah, I'm on the city right now, and they're just wanting to know if we can, like, if there's any way we can provide like any zero scaping or just any way to break it up. So they said there's so much asphalt. They're just wanting to know if we can find it, like if there's any way agree to at least provide some additional landscaping. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he said that we can definitely go ahead and do that because I know we aren't maxed out. So if we're able to go ahead and adjust that budget and get a quote on that, we can definitely submit that over to y'all and definitely make it work out and look a little bit more visually appealing for sure.
I'm for the project, but I'd like to see something permanent in landscaping, if at all possible. And it may not be possible.
Yeah, he said that he wanted to plant some trees. I know like Cody's Cars and Trucks down the street, they have some trees planted. So he's wanting to get some of that done. But yeah, he said he's definitely open to looking to getting a quote on that. On the other side of the sidewalk and getting some more landscaping out there as well. But we'll definitely make it work.
Well, Shannon, will you work with them on that and come back to the board and just bring us a report? I don't want to hold up the approval on this, but if you'll work with them and then come back to us and just give us an update.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, give her 4 or 5 more. Shannon, if we need to give her $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 more for landscaping or sprinkler or whatever, then I would think that would be appropriate.
I think what we can do, Stephen, is when we come down to vote on the projects and the amount of funding approved, if y'all want to put a contingency or some type of additional, we can do that when we come to the vote.
Okay. Let's do that. Yeah, that'll be good. Thank you, Stephen, for that. That's good. Okay, what's next?
Okay, we have 2 projects left. The applicant for the next 2 projects is going to be Adam Sturdivant, and we can wait until he gets on the line.
Yeah. Okay, they're done with me.
What's next?
Okay, we have 2.
It's part of the 2 deals.
Okay, looks like we've got Adam on the line. So the first project is going to be at 3151 North Bryant. This is going to be the Huddle House, which will be a restaurant. The funding requested is $75,000. They're going to put in a hefty match of 1.827 and $150 for a total project cost of $1,902 and $902 and $150. So this is going to be a pretty extensive project. So the summary of work is going to include site work, inspections, survey, demo, earthwork, as well as pad construction, also paving and surfacing, landscaping, erecting a new building, and to go along with that, the framing of the doors, frames and interior accessories, glazing entry doors, interior finishing of the drywall, paint and ceilings, installation of a new HVAC system, plumbing, electric, and a fuel system. So we'll start by going through some current photos of the property, which as you can see is vacant.
Yeah.
And then we've got some after renderings. So this is actually a Huddle House in another city, but this the one that will be constructed in San Angelo will be similar to this.
Mhm.
And we've got some renderings as well. Actually, I think this is the only rendering. So again, I'll be happy to answer any questions, and Adam is also on the line if you all have any questions for him as well.
Does the board have any questions? This looks like a great project.
When can you start?
Yeah.
We're pushing that as fast as we can.
Okay.
We've still got some planning left, but we're definitely getting closer to it.
Do you have adequate water sewer lines up there?
We're having, as part of the project, the current water and sewer lines run up to the Mueller steel building that's adjacent to the property. And part of our project is to extend those lines up and around past where we're going to install the new 33rd Street and then back down to the other side of Mueller.
What size sewer line have you got up there? I'm not familiar with more than an 8-inch. Are you telling me there's something bigger than that up there?
I believe so, but I don't have that information in front of me, sir.
But you've talked to the city and they're confident they can support you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was part of the agreement.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any other questions on the Huddle House? We appreciate your investment in our community. This looks really good.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Yep.
Why don't you move into the next one, Shannon? It's tied to it.
Yes, sir. So the next one is going to be at 3251 North Bryant. This is going to be the Kent Quick Travel Center. Again, they are requesting $75,000 in facade improvements and $263,840 in property tax rebates over 5 years. And I will get into that schedule in a minute and kind of go over that separate incentive since we haven't had one of those in a while. But the total incentives that they're requesting are going to be $338,840. Again, with a significant match of $6,434,150. And a total project cost of $6,509,150. And similar to the last project that we just reviewed, the work for the construction of the new building will be similar to that. So I won't go through all of that. Okay, so as far as the property tax rebate, as the board recalled, probably about 2 or 3 years ago, we actually revised our TIRZ policy in that any applicant that was requesting a property tax rebate must be able to invest at least $750,000 minimal capital investment. And the reason that we did that again is to encourage some of these higher investment projects. We thought that this project was very fitting in order to offer that property tax rebate in conjunction with the separate incentives. And per the policy, we are allowed to do that. We are allowed to do a property tax rebate separate from the regular incentives that we have. So if y'all are familiar with the policy, we do have a tax rebate schedule over 5 years. It begins at 100% and goes down 10% each year for the 5 years. So with the total capital investment, the way that we calculated, excuse me, the tax rebate is the investment that they're anticipating is the 8.5 million. Of course, it's not going to be that same amount every year, but if it appraises at that amount every year, we'd like to budget just in case it does appraise for that amount. Of course, it's not, if it appraises over, we're not going to pay anything over that amount. But just to give you the calculations, so they invest the 8.5 million. Of course, our tax rate is the 0.00776. So the taxes they will pay in year one will be $65,960. The rebate, according to the policy, is 100% for year one. So we would pay them the full 100% in year one. But I really wanted to show this graph to show that even though we will be rebating them a percentage, you will see in the far right column that the city will still be receiving some portion of the taxes after year two. So year 2 through 5, they still will be receiving some sort of a portion of that tax rebate. Then of course, after year 5, it falls off and they receive the full 100%. So I wanted to explain that to you all, since again, it's been a while since we've had a property tax rebate. Do y'all have any questions on this particular slide before I move forward?
Any questions? Okay, carry on.
Okay, so again, we'll start with some before pictures.
Shannon, excuse me real quick. Tom had a question.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, there we go. My question is, what are the taxes on that property as it stands now?
And do you know what the current appraised value of that property is? I think.
Appraised value right now is $286,260.
The appraised value currently?
So is the city going to be losing money in those first few years, depending on the taxes now?
I'd have to go through the calculations, but even so, just the investment alone that they're putting in, that they're going to be paying on, we will still see obviously some return. And then after year 5, we're going to be getting 100% of those taxes, where if they didn't invest or build, we would not be receiving any kind of tax benefit.
And I think it's great. I just wanted to see a picture of what the actual to the city versus what they're getting now is for those first couple of years.
Okay.
That's all. Yeah.
Shannon,
Okay.
if I'm figuring that right, at the $282,000, that's about $2,200 on the taxes for the city this currently.
Got $2,200.
$2,200 a year.
$2,200 a year. We're going to get $65,000 a year from now. Yeah. That's
Okay.
Yeah, that's about what I'm calculating.
Yeah. You're two,
All right.
money.
Great. Thanks.
You're 2, you're getting 3 years, 3 times as much.
That's right.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a hell of a project. But
It is.
Based on the current taxes in year 2, you get 3 years worth of year 1 of what we get now.
that's right.
So we're ahead in year 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we sure are. We sure are. Okay, any other questions? Okay,
Okay, so
Shannon, you're
I
still
will-
up.
Okay, so I'll move forward with, again, some current photos of similar properties that they have in other cities. And again, they won't be exactly like this, but it will be very similar to the one here in San Angelo. And again, we've got some after renderings just to kind of give you a better scope.
Okay.
And I do believe in this particular case, we did, again, ask the applicant to provide us with some landscaping renderings, which may or may not be in your packet. So these last several slides should include, some of the landscaping details.
I like it.
Well, it's a beautiful project and definitely additive to our city.
I appreciate that. That's those are our newest designs that are going in there, and we're pretty proud of them, and we're pretty excited to get started down in San Angelo.
Okay. Well, we deeply appreciate you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay, Shannon.
Okay, so now I'll just go over each of the projects all together as far as the amount that they're requesting and then the amount that staff is recommending for the funding. So again, just to recap, our first three projects. And as you can see, for each of those three projects, staff is recommending the full amount of funding.
Okay.
And then our last three projects, where again, you can see that staff is recommending full funding for all of those projects as well.
Okay.
And I will point out, as you can see, the amount of funding that we have available is about 1.5 million. If you total all of the projects, including the property tax rebate for the Kent Quick, it does total the 653. But of course, the way that we will budget that project is over the course of the 5 years.
Right.
So that will be staggered out over the course of the 5 years.
Right. Okay, Shannon, do you just want one motion on these? Would that be appropriate?
However y'all like to do it.
Jim, I'd like to make a motion to approve all those as presented with a contingency on the Big O project of $4,000 for in case they want to come back with additional landscaping.
Okay. Thank you, Greg. Greg's made that motion with that contingency amount. And who was the second?
Jason.
Jason makes a second. Okay, do we have any questions or comments?
You did say 4,000?
4,000.
4,000, yeah.
That ought to be enough, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, just let me make this comment. Shannon, these types of projects, this is why we're in business, and we have some great opportunities here, and we need to spend this money. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Can we all raise our hand at once, or do we just say aye? Let's just raise our hand and say aye both.
Aye.
Aye. All right, any opposed? Hearing none, these are approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Excellent job. Well done.
Jim,
Yes, sir.
at some point in time, whether now or later, I'd like to talk about 4th Street and ask the city staff to give us a report at the next meeting on what might be possible could be done to improve aesthetically paving and ingress and egress, as well as the parking on adjacent to the Angelo Movers apartment.
Okay, well, let's put that on the agenda for next month's meeting. And
Okay.
Stephen, let me say to you that I drove down 4th Street this morning, and I share your concerns exactly. I had to weave between trucks, and I thought, my heavens, what are we doing here?
Well,
but that's why we need to invest money and do what we can to hopefully propel some improvement.
Well, and on Shannon, on that topic, I'm in favor of discussing it. I think questions that I would want to have answered is, as the TIRZ board, I don't know that we make application for funds for ourselves or whatever we think, or whether that would have to come through the city, how that would be and how that fits in with the capital improvement plan too. So we probably would want some input from other city staff as well.
Well, and the city has other pots of money that might be available to be spent in this target area.
Well, and I'm just saying, I don't know to what extent the TIRZ board is the one to make that final call, but I do agree. It's if TIRZ money is available and if we could access it or the city could access it as part of something, but I know there are also other priorities the city has too.
I'm asking for is the city to give us a plan for improvement of 4th Street, ingress and egress, as well as for vehicular traffic and improved paving services.
Well, I understand. I understand, Stephen. I'm just saying we also have to consider you know, the city council's role in deciding what the
Yeah.
priorities for the city are
Yeah,
too.
we do.
I'm not opposed to discussing it. I just want to have
Right.
those
I agree.
questions on the table when we're
Yeah.
discussing it.
And I can answer part of that. And we can definitely bring that back for a discussion item. The short answer, John Mark, in terms of the TIRZ funding, outside of the incentives project, you know, the board wouldn't have to apply for grant funding. Outside of that process, the board can recommend funding any project that's eligible.
Okay.
And so, as I mentioned earlier, the sidewalks to connect the bus shelters, that's an example of one that we would be bringing to ask you all to
Sure.
approve outside of this
Okay.
process. I will say that parts of that 4th Street are not public right of way, I think, as one of the applicants mentioned. And so we've looked at that in the past, and part of the issue is somehow the city would have to acquire that. And it looks like
on the ground by prescription, isn't it, John?
well, the roadway itself, we could argue, is a prescriptive easement that we could use.
Right. Been open on the ground.
But that still gets complicated in terms of if we want to go in and widen the street or reorient where the pavement is. I think the better solution is to try to actually acquire that right of way and then do some street improvements. I will also say that in the past, the TIRZ board itself has not typically recommended street improvements. We've done streetscaping, we've done street lights and sidewalks and landscaping and all of that. The board has been, because the numbers can get very big very quick, the board in the past at least has been hesitant to put money in actual roadway paving kinds of projects. Not to say that you couldn't, but that's been a limitation that has been placed in the past.
John, one other question is this on the capital improvement plan? I mean, is this street any part of any street plan improvements, anything like that you know of?
We'll have to look at that. I'm not
Okay.
aware of it being on a project list, but we can look in it and bring some more information
I
back.
would also ask you to get your code compliance people. There's grass and weeds and crap all over that street that needs to be cleaned up.
Okay, I can pass that on also.
Yeah, John passed that on, and in being sensitive to John Mark's request and others, at some future meeting, let's discuss this some more, because I just keep thinking, you know, as we put more money in that 4th Street area, for it to really be leveraged where we could say that we put money into what will be catalytic projects, something's going to have to be done by someone.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
It's not going to be leveraged unless that area is cleaned up and showcases what we're investing in. So let's make that a
and you can certainly put that as a priority, as a recommendation to the council.
right.
Now, you could include in your investigation whether or not Ansville Apartments can permanently park their vehicles during the day and night on that loading zone. And they can. That's the one thing that, you know, I can understand them having to back up to the loading dock and load and unload, but they just park them there permanently at night and you can't get around it.
Yeah, I will look at that too and bring you back some information.
It may be already designated for that, but it may not be too.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, John, let's and thank everyone for their comments and the questions. John, let's you may have already given your director's report, but I'll give you another shot at it.
No, well, the only thing I had to add was, you know, we don't know what next meeting is going to look like.
Right.
With the way the governor's recent announcement was, I suspect that for the next month or two, we will still be meeting by Zoom like this. If we have a meeting each month, we'll look and see if we have items to bring. And so, you know, future meetings may be canceled if we don't have items, but just we'll let you know by email if once we know if, you know, an upcoming meeting is going to switch to an in-person meeting or continue to be by Zoom. Sometimes we don't hear that information from the governor's office until kind of last minute, but we'll let you know as soon as we know.
Well, I'll say to the board that John and I and his staff, we have conversations on whether we have enough to have a good agenda, and we'll be sensitive to that. As I've said to all of you, I don't believe in meeting just to say that we met. We try to have some substantive issues to consider and to vote on to have a meeting. And I appreciate everybody's willingness to meet by Zoom. And let me assure you, I'm the most unsophisticated technological person on this board. But this has worked quite well, and I appreciate John and his staff putting it together and making it work so smoothly. So we'll just say that the next meeting will be July 28th, unless you hear otherwise. So again, thank all of you for your time and for your effort and for your comments and for your votes. And at this point, I will say that we are now adjourned. Thank you,
All right.
all of you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.